exposing the population control, social planner concept for world domination, and that's what I call it, world domination, and the deteriorated uranium concept. Lorraine, I just want to make a quick comment of how correct you are about this. There is a company called LabVantage, and LabVantage is a highly supported global investment company that is centered out of England. When they made this declaration last week about cutting off various care to various people at a certain age and developing this whole process of having specimens and work. But this isn't in the public domain. What we're talking about right now, there's something else going on here. What's going on, and it's happened, and it's been going on for 3 years, is a sophistication that has come from lots of research over a period of time to collect semen and urine and blood samples from people all around the world to put them into a depository and a registry that's very private. This is called the biological synthetic repository. And what they're doing is separating out to save these samples with other species samples for the development of the new human, and because when new diseases come up with new types of gene changes and what are called gene signatures on the genomes for the various species on the Earth, they'll be able to have this select group of people to be the ones that survive in the New World Order. And right now, there are 38,000 cancer patients so far in this system, and they're run by a process, an automation process that is by 6 computers that are mind computers equal to 4,000 people's minds. They control this, what is called the Take-On. And the Take-On is a company which has these liquid handling workstations that develop and isolate out the particular matter of the proteins from the serum and the blood cells, and also in urine for getting subsets. And the idea is to get these subset protein systems from at least 500,000 people. And I've always asked why the 500,000 people, and of course the answer I already figured I'd get, and of course that's a sacred people. And so these investments that you're talking about are not only real, but they're going on. It's all part of the scheme of the global warming concept to have the threat out there for the reason for doing all these things.
Exactly.
And so you have 38,000 cancer cases that are now registered in this close to secret program that you're alluding to on the investment. It's called Janus. And I appreciate the idea of your interview time for me to expose this along with your expose, because it's quite real. The real war that we're fighting is for our own survival, and the concept which I call life and death issues that are very important. And there's a project that's related to this that has to do with uranium contaminants. And I'm not going to be telling you something you don't already know, but there always have been blames for having uranium from rocks and it's from natural processes, which it is, or something, but the uranium mining and all the rest of it. But the nuclear facilities and the concept of the waste disposal system is very much a part of the protection sequence of gene change. And there's the uranium as itself is really a water-soluble uranium, uranal ion, and this uranium atom is really linked to the 2 hydrogen and the 2 oxygen atoms in all by double bonds. So when this fluoride system, hydro system comes in, it adds a third bond. Now, if the uranyl ion is to react with any other substance, it's going to change it into a different insoluble ion. So that can be filtered out, but the uranium binds to oxygen, the bonds it forms, and these are a 25% stronger, a typical double bond. So what's being researched in this process of the genetic changes is something which is affectionately called an organic molecule, which is called a macrocycle. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Yeah, well, this is a major part of this. I was reading about the Google co-founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And on November 14th, there was an article that Larry Page was going to be married. And I just was glancing over it when I suddenly saw that former Vice President Al Gore, a senior advisor at Google, had been invited to the wedding, which was in early December. And so I immediately started investigating Google, and this is what I found out. Larry Page and Sergey Brin are both Zionists, and they both married women who were involved in biological information systems. When I investigated Sergey Brin, who actually got married 6 months before Larry Page, I discovered that he married Ann Wojciak, and she had started a personal genetics startup company. She is the founder of 23andMe, a venture based in Mountain View, which promises to make sense of customers' genetic information. Genetic testing for consumers is a field with growth prospects, and Wojcicki wants to solve medical mysteries and unite the world with DNA. But it's controversial. For instance, imagine if it became standard practice for couples to take genetic tests before marriage. Now, when I investigated, I discovered that as soon as she married Sergey Brin, she received millions of dollars from Google, and in her fundraising, she also received money from Genentech, Moore Davidow Ventures, New Enterprise Association, and others. But listen to her background, because it must have popped out and was very controversial. Their marriage, because it's not just two people getting married, it's much more than that. And what her background turns out to be is Ann Wojcicki co-founded 23andMe in 2006 to enable individuals to get access to their genetic information. Prior to starting 23andMe, and 23, by the way, is the number of chromosomes on the DNA, Ann spent 10 years investing in healthcare companies. Bingo. Mm-hmm. She graduated with a B.S. in biology from Yale. Mm-hmm. Yale is where all this garbage is coming from. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did my molecular biology research at the National Institute of Health, NIH, which is where the eugenics program is being engineered from. Mm-hmm. The Weizmann Institute, which is the City of London connection, and Israel, and UC San Diego, which gave her access to the biggest U.S. Navy base. Mm-hmm. And the Navy is heavily invested and involved in depopulation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So isn't that interesting?
Oh, yes, and it comes under the heading of biobanking.
Biobanking, and now they are moving Google headquarters to Israel.
Yeah, I know. We're going to come back on the break and talk about this.